Welcome back to Krown's Crypto Cave. Wishing you a happy and healthy start to this nice little Sunday morning over here from Helsinki, Finland. It's been a nice early morning walk for myself, so I'm ready to go. And as always, when it comes to weekend price action, mostly sideways and very, unthrilling, if you will. Anyways, with that said, this is mostly a preparation for the week to come, of which there are a few major things to be aware of. Of course, one of them actually happening in the next 24 hours, actually a little bit less than the next 24 hours. And I will also point back to the last long-term analysis video that I did last week. It's in the playlist titled Long-Term Analysis. I'll actually link it at the end of this video in the little pop-up things that come at the end of the video. Do you know what the fuck I'm talking about? Well, whatever it is, it comes at the end of the video and you can click it there. And that's going to be, and this is going to be an evolution of that, as I don't really think that it's relevant to rehash that 40-minute long conversation. And realistically, I just want to add a few things to that, of which we can do in this video and maybe even talk about the short-term timeframes as well. Anyways, with that said, let's get into the Krown Chain application right now, which can be found at app.krown.net. And what do we see? We see the continuation of that Bitcoin dominance bounce that we're looking for, and I expect that this does trade higher over the next, probably week or two, depending upon where Bitcoin goes in the macro. This could be very indicative that Bitcoin is within the midst of a pretty mega move. Now, mega move does not imply direction right here, obviously, but that's obviously going to be tittied up with our BBWP indicator, of which I do have a very, very big thing to be talking about right there. That does suggest that we are going to be looking at, pretty phenomenal move right here, and I do believe that it's going to be Bitcoin led. Anyways, with that said, Fear and Greed Index at a 50, so we are quite literally stock standard neutral right there. And as far as top 10 best coins go, we actually do see a few winners listed in the last 24 hours. Cosmos, Ravane, Algorand, OMG, oh god, Omizio Networks back there again. Monero actually there. Nice, good to see a 2015 coin once again on the list. One of the ones that I think a lot of people thought was more legitimate, but you don't really hear about it too much anymore. Cello, Quant, and Tezos all on the winners list as well. Market data tab, we'll see if we got anything new going on over here. Global funding rate continues to trend down ever so close to zero, even dipping into the negative territory once this past week, or sorry, I believe a week ago, but more importantly, we do actually see a couple exchanges that are posting negative rates. Of course, this is global, so it's an average of all the major exchanges, but there are people out there who are paying to hold their shorts right now, and if you did take a short after September 7th, it is very likely not in profit. As far as the global leverage ratio goes and the global open interest, a couple of very interesting things going on right here. Again, we are edging our way towards the same levels that we did see in September 7th. What is this? April 17th, and of course last November as well. All of which did produce 20 to 30% downside moves or more. However, that's not always going to be a bearish thing. It needs to be taken into consideration with both the open interest level, which should naturally go alongside that, and then also, I guess the global funding rate's not the best way to be doing this, obviously, but it needs to be taken into consideration of which side is more over leveraged. Typically, it's going to be on the long side, and in this case right here, we don't really have anything that would be too enlightening about that, because the global funding rate we'd expect to see massively high. If we go back to September 7th, you can see that it was actually it was a few multiples from what we actually see right now, about 10x the current global read right now. And then more importantly, when we saw the major dump from the middle of April, you can see that it was way the fuck on over here. Well above 0.1%, which is what I consider very, very critical. And then, of course, if we go all the way back to November, you see the spike over here. And that, did really give a great bias that, of course, that sort of washing of leverage positions is very likely going to be, moving to the downside. But for right now, we don't necessarily have that just yet. And if anything, it's trending closer to zero. So I do look at this as maybe a little bit more in the bootleg case, perhaps a little bit of hopium, definitely not actionable in and of itself. So let's get into the stuff that actually does matter over here. Let's get into the price action charts right now. And what should I start it off with today? Actually, we got a couple of very interesting things to go off of today. Beautiful bounce off the yellow 21 exponential averages we did speak about yesterday, and Bitcoin closing above 48,000 bucks. All good things. And of course, now we can once again move up the point of failure, at least in my opinion, from 47,000 bucks to wherever the 21 exponential average is right now, which is 47,400. I'd like to see this preferably on a daily close. Obviously, could I do this on a 12-hour? Yes, I do think that would be relevant as well. So essentially what I'm saying is that as long as Bitcoin is above there, I do look at this as playable, I do look at this as valid, and I do look for essentially our indicators over here to play out, of which we do see multiple drives of hidden bullish divergence on daily RSI. We do see that daily BBWP is actually nosediving all the way back down into the single digit percentiles right here, 6.75 to be exact. So expansion from that level, you can expect you know, 10% plus move. I mean, that was actually what precipitated this last move to the downside right here in early September. And you can see that that was actually from top to bottom, not necessarily on closing basis, but on top to bottom. That was about a 20% move. Obviously, the one that we had before that was a move to the upside right around here, and almost immediately did put in about 44% to the upside, and then crawled up another, well, almost double that over time, almost 80%. As you can see, another example right over here. Before this, nice girthy red dildo party, about 30% move to the downside right there as well. And then, of course, we do have another example of what actually I think is relatively similar to what we're looking at right now back in September, October. Funnily enough, it's actually around the same dates as well of last year, where we did see it get incredibly low right here, and then boom, few months, about almost a 2x right there. Anyways, it is direction neutral, obviously, but that does suggest that we are going to be looking at, you know, a relatively decent move right here. If it comes to the downside, probably be looking at 20% more. In that case, you know, that could very easily bring Bitcoin where? It could very easily bring Bitcoin back down somewhere around about 39,000 or 40,000 bucks. To the upside, I would basically be looking at this as a continuation move. You do know my thoughts on that if you've watched the prior video. Again, that'll be linked at the end of this one in the long-term analysis playlist. Talking about why I believe that this is very likely a bear trap going on right now, a very elaborate one, a very nasty one. Then, you know, realistically, I mean, I'd just be looking for a float to the prior all-time highs, and then very likely continuation from there. But for right now, things do look, you know, more or less good. Bitcoin's come back down, retest the yellow 20-minute exponential average already on today's, on today's low, and so far rejected it, which is a good sign. And more importantly, we should be aware that CME actually did close pretty much yes, it did close pretty much exactly at that region, just below 47,490 to be exact, actually. So that'll be opening up a little bit later today. We could see one more spike down around there, and that would be completely fine, completely, you know, somewhat normal, I suppose. But as long as Bitcoin is above there on a daily total closure specifically, I would be looking for this again with the goggles, or at least with the buys, that this is very likely a bear trap going on right here. Anyways, I should give the bears their credence, of course. You know, there are several things that are very, very important right here. The first and foremost and most important one is obviously the weekly trend. We do see that Bitcoin did get a lower low on the weekly right around here. And if we do put in a high right here, which is not put in a high just yet, then this would be your next lower high, and that would be your weekly reversal. And all weekly reversals, both to the upside and the downside in Bitcoin's history, have been followed by macro moves. So when I say macro moves to the downside, that's, you know, 50 to 70%. To the upside, that's, you know, X's basically. But for right now, you know, this sort of an interpretation is a more or less good signal. And by the way, we did just, or we're about to confirm, as soon as this next weekly does close, a 10 simple cross the upside of the yellow 20-minute exponential average right there, which is, you know, well, good, I suppose. You can see the last time we saw something like this happen was way back on over here at about 8,400 before going all the way up to about 60,000 bucks. This one over here, nasty trap, but a different, you know, a bit of a different sort of interpretation than, you know, than what we're looking at right now. And then, of course, we do see this one over here for a massive move from about 5,000 all the way to 14,000. And then I need to go to like a more prolonged chart to get more price action data. But you can see another great example right on over here, going all the way from 300 to 20,000 bucks a couple of years later. Anyways, more important than that, you know, I don't really put too much weight on that. Again, structure right now matters most, and for right now, you know, Bitcoin is looking, well, more or less good. So if we do go down to the short-term timeframes, which I dare to do on a weekend specifically, can we chart this one off? Well, let's actually just do a fresh little chart right here so that we can make this nice and orderly. We want to mark off 47,000 bucks. That was the prior major area that we were watching, saying that, hey, look, as long as Bitcoin's above there, I'm generally looking for like a stair-step formation to the upside, and I would still have that somewhat bullish bias. Above, you know, now that we do have the 47.5 pivot, also in line with the daily 21, so good confluence right there as well. I'd mark off that right there. That's actually the low of today thus far. So as long as Bitcoin's even closing above there, would I use a 4 hour for this? Maybe, maybe not. You know, I don't necessarily like using low-term timeframes over the weekend. In fact, I don't really trade over the weekends unless if there's like something incredibly obvious. And in this case, I wouldn't say that this is it. Then you know, in this case, I'd really not want to use a lower term time frame like this. I'd want to see like a 12-hour or a daily specifically. Now, if Bitcoin does start to break these levels, especially 47,000 bucks on like a 4-hour, let's call it, then yes, I would consider that broken. I'd be looking for another return back down to the prior range low, somewhere around about 45,000 bucks, give or take. But for right now, this is, you know, this is good. We got a lovely silver cross right here. Bitcoin seems to be playing out, and as long as above the 21 on a 4-hour closing basis, I mean, that is playing it out by definition. Anyways, as far as BBWP goes on the 4-hour right here, we do see that it's actually starting to expand from a very, very low level. So not only is it's a very high term time frames, and we're actually going to go over one more that's incredibly impressive relatively soon, but Also, lower term timeframes are showing incredibly low reads right here as well. So this next week to come is very likely to be a big one. So if you do want to go into the biggest meme of them all, of which it's been operating incredibly well, what I should show you is right on over here in the, of course, moon charts, the real analysis. Throw all this bullshit tentacle analysis away. Just look at the moons, baby. Just look at the moons, listen to the witches. And to be fair, this has been incredibly consistent for about a year now. It's been, I mean, you know, I always have to ask myself, did I trade better than the moons here? No, I did not. I certainly did not, but I also don't necessarily trade like, you know, on these sort of time frames anyway. So it's kind of a moot point. But more importantly with this, do we have a bear moon right around here, right before the 7th of September? Yes, we did. Are we about to put in a right here coming into tomorrow, the 20th of September? Actually, yes, we are. So if you do go back on over this, and again, I do understand that if you're looking at this for the first time, you're like, what the fuck, Krown, moons? Have you lost your fucking mind? Are you a fucking moron? Jesus Christ, turning this shit off, unsubscribed, the best one is like when someone leaves a comment that they said unsubbed. It's like, all right, thank you for that information, sir. I will be putting it in my journal later. Anyways, yes, you know, you can backtest it yourself, obviously, but you know, we can just count it out. You know, we can just count it out ourselves right now, and then you make the decision for yourself. All right, let's just ignore that one right there. We got a bull moon right here. This one did work out. This one putting in about from moon given to next high, almost 20% move. This one getting the high right there before next move down. Obviously, that's going to be like a 20-30% move. This one getting the lows right here before a nice little rally. Boom, gets a high right there, comes back down into range. Very similar to what we're doing right here, by the way. So if Bitcoin were to come back down to 45,000 bucks, I would actually not get bearish just yet. I would get very bearish below about 45,000 bucks though, or 44.5 if you want to be super exact. This one getting low right here. So we do have, you know, all iterations thus far have worked. We got 1, 2, 3, 4. This one over here does not work. So we got 1 out of 5 that does not work. This one certainly works. This one, I would say, gets the first high right here. So it does work. This one gets the low. So we got 1 out of, I believe, 7 now. This one over here kind of gets it, kind of doesn't. I mean, this is a move, to be fair, right? It is about a 10% move, but I would say that within the context of the prior signals, it would not really work out as like a great one. So let's just say 2 out of 8 now do not work out. This one great, this one great, this one great, this one great, 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 motherfucker. That's great. Here we go again. This one did not work. So 3 out of, Jesus Christ, now I got to count them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28. So 3 or 4 of them out of 28 did not work out. Now, I don't have my calculator handy right now, but that is probably above 80% if I had to guess, even in the 90% right now. So that is rather impressive. And as far as the hit rate goes, well, that would be pretty damn good, at least in my eyes. About to get a bull moon right here after Bitcoin is essentially, you know, it hasn't put in a lower high just yet. It did put in a lower low on the daily right here, but we did not break range, to be fair as well. And again, I do look at this as a bear trap first and foremost, given the information that we did look at in the prior video. So what I want to bring you over to now is actually something that someone in the Discord turned me on to earlier yesterday, actually, which is a bi-weekly. So major shout out to Mr. Yard in the Discord, as I want to cover up. Actually, no, this is, he must be having different settings right here. Hold on. You know what? Actually, that is not going to be what I thought it was. Apologies on that. You know what? Never mind. It's actually not there. Okay, what I was going to show is, or what I thought I was going to show is actually we're going to have very, very low volatility on the bi-weekly BBWP, but we actually do not. I imagine we're probably running different settings either which way. I mean, is it really that interesting here to begin with? I mean, we are kind of at the same levels that we did see on some other major. But more importantly, you know, there are some other major things to be aware of here anyways. Okay, did we close a 2-day last night? No, we're closing it tonight. And by the way, this is still having active hidden bullish evidence right here. If this does pop above the exponential, again, I would be looking towards a drive towards the top side of the range. And we've got to do that in the short-term timeframes, which I should mark off right now. Whereas the top side of the short-term timeframes, be right around 50 actually. If we do go to like a 12-hour or a daily, it's going to be more like 49.5 actually. So let's go to a daily and just get this one off, I'd say on a closing basis. So I could get bullish one of 2 ways. Either a shorter term time frame, like a 4-hour, closing above about 50,000 bucks or just above 50,000 bucks right there, or especially a daily above about 49.5. Now this should have natural confluence with, of course, our Fibonacci retracements as well. And what do you know, we got rejected actually pretty much right yesterday, right at the 0.5. Pretty damn stock standard stuff. And then where's the 618? right around 49.5. Actually, if I were to do this specifically on the closures, it should be exactly right there. There we go. Beautiful. Now, of course, a lot of people have been asking me, do you draw your fibs from wick or closure? You can do both. I mean, if you're going to scalp wicks and you want to do it from wicks, if you want to play off closures, then you do it from closures. I mean, they're going to be equally as valid for the most part. I do find that closures are going to be more important for actual structure, though, is what I would say. Anyways, okay, cool. So we got that right there. Let's put a nice little blue box for posterity. There. Okay, lovely. Now, what else did I wanted to get on here? 15 minutes into this video, and have I said everything that needs to be said? No. 3-day close last night. Did we see anything of particular interest right here? No. But, except for one thing, we do see 3-day BBWP very, 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 very low right here. Same levels that we saw in July of last year, and same levels that we saw in October as well. These were obtaining the mega massive breakout that we did see, obviously, later into actually the next year, in fact. Anyways, should we go down through momentum oscillators first, and then we can talk about some fun long-term stuff as well? Yes, we can do that. Daily Stokes remain to the upside as long as we're above 46.4. 2-day is going to be closing today. The 2-day is going to be closing today, and if we do close anywhere above 46.5, which is actually above, well above, about $1,000. Sorry, not above, but below. It's about $1,000 below the major time frame pivot right there at 47.5, at least in the way that I look at it. As long as we do close above there, I wouldn't look at this. This will cross the upside and also reject the bearish control zone as well with incredibly low volatility rates. So if we do see momentum plus volatility start to go up alongside a continuation of this, that would look really, 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 really good for getting back above, those critical levels. And of course, if you've been paying attention, I'm more than happy to call this bear trap completely confirmed with, again, one of two things. Either lower term timeframes closing above 50,000 or a little bit above 50,000, or a daily above 49.5. One of those two would be good enough for me, and then I'd be looking for this to play out. On top of that, my experimental indicator over here is somewhat suggesting a bit of a signal, not necessarily. A 3-day, we did close yesterday as well. This one's still just trading, not really giving us too much. Did lose a downside curvature right here, so momentum is subsiding is what that would suggest. And then, of course, we got a weekly closure coming up a little bit later today as well, and not really much to make out of this just yet. Anyways, okay, I want to bring over a couple new things here too. Okay, not on that chart, on this chart over here. All right, beautiful. Okay, so here's what we're going to talk about next. And of course, we've spoken about the hash ribbons indicator a million goddamn times, right? And again, that has been documented in detail in the prior long-term analysis video. Basically, anytime that we do have a blue buy signal on the hash ribbons indicator, the prior daily low, from a trend perspective, was the macro low before never getting tested again, or sorry, not necessarily tested again, but closed below again on a higher term time frame ever again, except for one. And about 16 or 17 iterations of that. The one time where it did not work out was right here, and of course 2020, where we did get the blue signal right here, and then of course Bitcoin did close well below prior low from that, which was about 6,700. Obviously, next closing low was 5,000 or so. But for right now, we did get that blue buy signal right here on early August actually. And where was price action, or where was the prior daily higher low before that? That was right here at about $38,000. So Bitcoin, let's just say hypothetically, Bitcoin did fail this region right here and came all the way back down, which we did say could be as much as like $39,000-$40,000. That'd actually be that'd be about a 20% downside move right there. That'd actually be within about 8% of the prior daily low. Which, if you've also listened to that prior video, I've done an analysis on all of the next lows that come after the blue buy signal, meaning that how close do we typically test down towards that prior daily low? On average, is about a little bit above 7%, which that would, funnily enough, be very, very close to. Anyways, for what it's worth right now, it should be known that on the weekly right here, on the accumulation distribution indicator, which I'm not a humongous fan of it on the weekly for just the actual direction of it, it kind of matters, but it doesn't have very good results. What I am interested in is these green lines right here. And sorry, just to explain, these vertical lines, these are correlated with the hash ribbons blue buy signals right there. Anyways, these green lines right here essentially have marked off what have been some of the best macro buys in Bitcoin's history, actually. And again, I'll just kind of let my own opinion of that subside, and then you make the decision for yourself. Now, doesn't always work, obviously, but we do see that we got down on that last major low to similar territories that we did see, on on coronavirus dump times over here before this mega massive rally right here, which did eventually fail, to be fair. 60% downside move, or sorry, 60% upside move, followed by like a 50% downside move. We got the same one over here. This was your macro low, pretty much the very, very close to where we're at right now. This one over here, obviously a macro low as well, before going from 300 to all the way to 20,000 bucks. And this one over here, getting the macro low that we did see in 2014, 2015. And then this one over here, the macro low that we did see in 2011. And even this major low right here, actually on this reaccumulation after the major reversal right there. So, you know, very, very well tested. However, there is one iteration where it did not work out. We discussed it right here, obviously, but you know, for right now, this would be a good thing, I do suppose. You know, another thing kind of supporting the long-term Bula case. Again, I see, or at least in order for me to confirm this and look at it as, like, you know, verified, I do need to see a daily above about 49.5 or a short-term time frame above about 50,000 bucks. One of those two things would be good enough for me. Anyways, that's it for that. I want to make this video a little bit more on the show. Yes, I think I will, because this video is really meant to be looked at as an evolution of the prior video last week, which was essentially going over, you know, the biggest case for this being a one massive bear trap. And I do suspect that this is, you know, evolved over time, and as time has gone on, the bear trap case has not been has not just not been destroyed, it's actually been strengthened by a few more things as they do come online here. I want to see, is there anything in particular here for, no, not really. 12 hours as well. No, not really as well. We do see that 12-hour BBWP actually spanning from literally 0 percentile, actually, just from about a week and a half ago, on the actual low as well. So this expansion is coming alongside already a trend reversal right here. We do have a higher low and a higher high as well, so that is a good signal as well here. And I would be still kind of putting the ball in the Bulaw's court. Here's the thing, though. I don't necessarily have any major proclivities over the weekend, especially. This is really a setup for the week to come, and of course, the moon doesn't start shining until tomorrow, anyways. So we'll see how that one goes. I do want to check out, or I do want to remind myself to say that, hey, CME did close at 47.5. So if you do see a spike down around there, that would be, you know, somewhat normal. The question is, do we actually close below there? Because that is where my major pivot is, not just where CME closed on Friday, but also the daily 21 on Bitcoin price action right here as well. By the way, the daily 21 does have a positive slope as well here. We do have a nice little silver cross going on, so I do see that as active, at least for now. Anyways, okay, there's one last thing. Just for a bullshit clickbait title, let's do this. Just for one clickbait bullshit title, let's do this. Do I want to get rid of this? Yeah, let's get rid of this. All right. So let's play around here for a second. Let's say that this actually is the low right here. Let's just say that it's already been confirmed. It has not. But let's say it is, just for the purposes of this conversation, just to have a little bit of fun. Could we make some extensions? Could we make some projections into the future? I suppose that we could, yes. In this case, we do something like this, and let's see if it matches up with the macro one right here. Sorry, what I should explain is the one on the right side over here correlates with the macro cycle, actually, of which, if you've listened to that video, we bottomed out at the 1272 in the same way that we have on all mid-cycle reaccumulation phases. And I'm just curious if we do see it. Yes, we do. We see it actually lined up a little bit north of the 6 digits right there. The 2-spot 272, the 2-spot 414 are the ones of very interesting significance to myself long term. That is around 120,000 to 135,000. You'll also probably notice that is going to be very, 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 very likely around this projected area of interest as well. Right here. Of course, this is the Bitcoin log curve zones, and you can see that, Bitcoin's putting the highs at the red zone pretty much every time on all macro cycles since the dawn of time. And where is it currently? 130,000, actually. Very interesting. Very interesting. By the way, still reaccumulating in the yellow zone as well. That spike down has traditionally been a pretty nice area. Just saying as well. Let's go back on over here, and that would be correlated with both the more short form reaccumulation right here, although short form on a weekly, still pretty high of a time frame. Obviously, this one being the macro is going to be even greater than that, and both of those do have great confluence. They're at around 120 to 130,000 bucks. So interesting from a very long term perspective. I'm not saying that's happening anytime soon. If it does happen, it's probably happening like end of this year or next year, something like that. And for what it's worth, there would be many areas of interest along the way. of which I'd have particular interest at about 75,000 and 85,000 right here. Other than that, when can move. So I think I'll just leave it right there. Again, there's going to be a clickbait bullshit title at the beginning of this video. Ignore that shit. If you've been here long enough, you already know that they're just there to play the fun YouTube game. Apologies on that. It is a bit embarrassing, but it is kind of fun as well. Anyways, with that said, I want to wish you well. I want to wish you the best. We'll be back on tomorrow with some more live stream analysis. Hopefully, I'll be a little bit more lively during that time too. But with that said, take care. Salute you, and until next time.